Do you ever go through your files and you start to look through and you're like, man, I love this one, but oh, that would be a lot of distraction removal and would be really difficult? Well, have no fear. In this video, I want to show you how to use a backplate like this to quickly and easily create an image like this. If you find this tip helpful, go ahead and hit subscribe to our YouTube channel so you can see more pet photography editing tips and tricks, as well as some tips for running a successful pet photography business. All right, let's dig in. Are you ready? Okay, so we have this image, we have this image, this is the backplate image. Now, a couple of things to remember when you're taking these backplate images. I let my client know that I'm going to do this. So we take the image, I get everything set up, and I say, we're going to take this image. And when I say, okay, I want you and the dog to completely leave the scene, come behind me. I'm going to stay right here and take another image of the background. So they're like, all right, great. So we set everybody up. I get the image. I know I have the image I want of the dog. And then I say, okay. And then they walk away. And then I stay in the same spot and I go ahead and take that background image. Now, this is a really important point. It depends if you're using back button focus or not. If you're using back button focus, which is a custom setting on your camera where you decide to tell your camera, hey, when I press this button, I want you to focus, and you take the focus off the shutter button. Like most of the cameras, when they come out of the box, if you hit the shutter button halfway down, it grabs focus on your subject, and then all the way down, it takes the picture. Back button focus is removing those two actions to two different buttons. So if you're shooting back button focus, just stay where you are, snap another picture. And your focus point is going to stay right where it was, where that dog was, so your depth of field in this backplate image matches your original image. Now, if you don't shoot back button focus, don't worry. All is not lost. All you have to do is reach down onto your lens and then go ahead and flip your lens onto manual focus. And then, of course, don't change it. And then go ahead and take one more image. And don't forget to turn it back onto automatic focus before you go off shooting the rest of your session. But those are the two ways to do that. Because if you are trying to do this backplate technique without switching your lens onto manual or shooting back button focus, what's going to happen? Well, when you take this image, your camera's going to grab focus on those trees, and then you're not going to be able to mesh these two images together because your depth of field is going to be totally different between the two. So that is a really important point. Another important point is to really watch your perspective and try to be in the same spot. If it's an organic background such as this and you're outside and it's trees and it's soft, it's usually a little bit more forgiving. If you're in an urban area or a city and it's a building, you need to be really, really careful because that perspective changes really easily. And if there's any lines like bridges, things like that, so you want to try to be right in that same exact spot. And that's when shooting back button focus can be really, really helpful because you don't have to move. You can just tell your clients, okay, get out of the way, and then just stay right there and take another picture. Or of course you could shoot on a tripod, but I don't know about you. Photographing pets with a tripod? No thanks. Not for me. But anyway, all right, are you ready to dig into how easy this is? Let's go ahead and grab our background image and we're just going to drag it over here on top of this other image, and then we can just kind of slide it over. Now, we can manually line it up. We can see our two layers right here. We can go ahead and change our opacity of that top layer. And then we can try with the move tool just to kind of move it around to see where it lines up. You know, maybe we can use this tree right there or the mountain or something like that. But an easier way to do that when it works, let's turn that opacity back up, is to go ahead and select both of your layers. And we're going to go right up here to Edit, Auto Align Layers. And let's see how Photoshop does. I'm just going to leave it on auto, hit OK, give it a minute. And it's like, yeah, here we go. I can line that up. Well done, Photoshop. Well played. All right, so we're going to deselect there. And then we are just simply going to add a mask. Select this top layer, add a mask, and we're going to paint our dog back in. B for our brush tool. And then you can see right here we have a white layer. So white reveals, black conceals. So white's revealing what is on this same layer. It's kind of like a window to this layer. But you don't have to remember. All you need to really remember is if you're seeing what you want to be seeing and you want to make a little spot in there where you can see underneath the mask, make that mask a different color. So we can Command I if we wanted to invert it, and we could go ahead and grab a white brush, and then we can kind of paint out this way. Or we can go ahead and, we'll just Command C to change that, go back, Command I. We're going to change to a black brush, and we're just going to paint the dog in. I usually just paint the dog in. I just find that a little bit easier. But you could really do either way. It doesn't really matter. It just depends what's easier for you. So there we go. We've painted our dog back in. Abby's back in the image. And then you can just kind of look down here, and this actually looks pretty good, except big issue I see is look at the difference right here between the shadow. Like the color of the road looks a little bit different. So I'm going to go ahead and, like, the shadow's not lining up. So I'm just going to go ahead and kind of paint this all back in and make the area that I'm going to have like transition between the two images be the back of the road there, because when you have a line like that, it makes it kind of pretty easy to go ahead and find a place to transition those two images. So we'll do that. And then if we come over here, we're going to eventually run into their feet. Oh, there's a foot. That's okay. We don't want that much foot. Let's take this back. That actually looks pretty good. All right, so we'll clean that up in just a second. Let's turn this on and off and just check these different areas. Oh, the dog is not totally through here. So let's, oops. Command Z if you make a mistake, and go ahead, and we want to make sure we're painting on black so we can paint that dog in a little bit more. I'm using a Wacom tablet, and sometimes it's set to pressure. Which here we can go ahead and click that, and now it'll be 100%. If you're using a Wacom tablet, sometimes if you press, it's set to pressure. So if you're pressing light, it's on the opacity, or you can have it set to the pressure where if it's harder, the brush gets bigger. Lots of different settings there for our Wacom tablet, but that's not what this training is about today. All right, so we have our dog there. Let's turn this on and off again. There's this little area that we need to paint through. There was a little line. That tree looks good. And then, of course, we have this over here. Oops. So if this happens, I accidentally picked up green somewhere. Command Z again, and let's go ahead and reset our brush palette. And we want to reset to black and white, and we're just going to, when this happens, what happens? It means that this image is selected, it's no longer selected on the mask. So let's just click on our mask to reselect that mask, and then we can brush in the changes kind of right here. And just get rid of that hard edge. All right, and that looks pretty good. Let's just get rid of this little bit of a leash. We are going to change our brush size again, make this smaller, and just paint that on. There we go. All right, that looks good. Now we're gonna go ahead and crop. It's gonna crop in here. And then the only thing we really need to clean up is this one little piece of a shadow. And this was really here, this dark spot, but I'm a control enthusiast and it's drawing my eye. So we're gonna go ahead and use spot healing brush. I might actually use patch tool for this. Just go ahead and slide that over, get rid of it. There we go. And then we want to just kind of even out those shadows, which I think that looks pretty good. So quick and easy, just a few minutes, use that back plate. So much easier than going through and trying to clone that much of the back scene out. So hope this helped. If you want to learn more pet photography editing skills, check out our free editing training at the Hair of the Dog Academy. Simply go to www.hairofthedogacademy.com/editing. If you'd enjoyed this, again, don't forget to subscribe, and we will see you in our next video.